Sorry, welcome to OwanaPaedia. I was engrossed with my ancient transistor radio here, listening to some things, but I've been called to order by Herbert Semiano. My name is Tony Geoffrey Owana, and we welcome you to yet another session of OwanaPaedia, the one-stop center for the history of this country.
Tony Owana really loves our history. He has a passion for doing research, and he shares all this history with you, so that you can make informed choices.
Banange, have you subscribed to OwanaPaedia? I don't know what you were waiting for.
And he shares all this history with you, so that you can make informed choices.
What a son does cannot be blamed on the father or on the son, because that fellow does whatever he does as an individual, not as a member of his family, not as a member of his tribe, not as a member of his religion. He does whatever he does, right or wrong, because of himself as a person. Many of you are parents. Sometimes you cannot even control your 12-year-old children. They go and do what they want, contrary to your wishes. You will then be blamed for the actions of your son, Museveni, who is 40 years old.
Tony Owana really loves our history. He has a passion for doing research, and he shares all this history with you, so that you can make informed choices.
Today, we have a unique presentation. It needed Herbert Semiano and I to agonize over whether we should present it to you in its exceedingly damaged form. We have a very, very historic video which was kept so badly that it got ruined almost irretrievably. But what we have managed to salvage of it, we have decided to show it to you because you need it. And if you pay attention to detail, you realize that the content can enable you to overlook the quality of the pictures. You've been seeing our pictures. They are not as bad as they could have been. But this one was tough to decide to give it to you. And what is it? It is about one of the first visits President Museveni made to Lango and Acholi when he had taken power. Why is it important? It is important because when some of the forces of the military council government were fleeing the NRA advance, they told people in especially Acholi land that the Nyarwanda-Ganda army called NRA was coming to finish them off completely, to punish them for what they had done in Uganda, cutting people. That's the politicization they were told by the fleeing leaders. Now, that meant that the notion of closing off the north from Karuma gained moment. They said, let's cross Karuma and make sure they don't come. Some of the NRA people who crossed Karuma, remember the kind of resistance they found there. And yet when the political commissars got to political work with the enemy soldiers, they discovered that this story they had been told was not true. Now, the president went and met local leaders, first in Lira, then he went to Gulu. And in one of these engagements, he took them back in time to what had been happening in the changes of government over the years, beginning with when Amin was overthrown in 1979. Museveni narrates that when some liberation forces entered Koboko, they sort of thought that every person born in an area where Amin comes from must be a bad person. So they grabbed a bank manager and buried him alive. Why don't we let Museveni tell the story himself? Because he lived it. At that time, he was the Minister of Defense. And that some of that behavior is what led to an order that certain groups of soldiers should not go to West Nile, because it seemed they had some problem with that particular region. Let's go back to 1986, when the president met leaders in northern Uganda to reassure them that the NRM was not a revenge organization.
When I arrived, one of the first things they did was to kill the bank manager of Koboko branch, and not to kill him, but to bury him alive. Then the Amin people who had run in Sudan, they said, oh, you see, they are burying, I think it was Moyo or Adonga, one of those places. They killed some soldiers there. Then they ran back, I think. Then the UNLA came, now massacred everybody they could come across. That they are solving the problem by massacring everybody. They would find a family, put it in a hut, close the door, and set the hut on fire, so that all the people burn there. 500,000 people in West Nile run in Sudan, 500,000. So the problem which had not been there of a huge number of refugees from West Nile in Sudan and Congo was created by the UNLA. UNLA had now been taken over by the people with the Boyai mentality, and they were using it the way they wanted. When we decided to go to the bush in 1981, it was not merely for these elections, of cheating elections. Because cheating elections, we could live under dictators. In many African countries, people are living under dictators. So we could have also kept quiet and lived under dictators. But if you get dictators who are also killing people, who are also degrading people, then it becomes intolerable. When we went to the bush in 1981, then the UNLA now started killing people in Luweero. They say that, they were saying that any civilian in Luweero was either a muyekera, guerrilla, or a potential muyekera, so you had to kill all of them. They were not even looking for guerrillas, they were looking for money to steal. So, if you are looking for Museveni, how do you look in the pockets, you think that's where Museveni is? The amount of killings which they did in Luweero was just incredible, because they would come, correct villagers. If the villagers say they don't know where Museveni is, they kill them. They say they know where Museveni is, they also kill them. They say this one wants to take us into an ambush. How did you know where he was? It means you have also been a guerrilla. Get hold of the women, marry them by force. If a woman has got a child and the child cries, the soldier says the child is disturbing his ears, and he gets hold of the child, he hits him on the ground, the child dies. He says that if they find the woman with the child, they hit the child on the ground, and they tell the woman not to worry, because she will produce a new one. They should not worry. So really, if you see all this, I started with the point which was made by Apita, the point of peace. And you remember I said that peace is not all that difficult to bring in Uganda, because the lack of peace has been caused by the governments themselves, more by the governments than by the population. Of course, there are also bad elements in the population, but the biggest responsibility for the absence of peace has been the governments themselves, rather than the population. Now, you have a government in power, which has got people who I think know what they are doing. Now we have fought through here, through Leader Town, through Soroti, through Mbari. You have never heard that our soldiers are touching civilians. I don't think so. I don't think it is. Or if they did it, that they are not punished. Because you never know, you could get one or two fellows who are not good. They could maybe harm a civilian. But the important thing is that if that happens, then the government should punish that fellow promptly and adequately. Now, that is, the soldiers you see here are reflecting the political line of our movement. Because we have explained to them, some of them have lost a lot of relatives. These soldiers whom you see here. And they could be bitter. But we explain to them, we say, the problem of Uganda is being caused by bad leadership. Bad leadership can cause so many problems, even when there are no problems. Bad leadership can create those problems. Also explain to them that what a son does cannot be blamed on the father or on the son, because that fellow does whatever he does as an individual, not as a member of his family, not as a member of his tribe, not as a member of his religion. He does whatever he does, right or wrong, because of himself as a person. Somebody who tries to say Obote is from Lango, he has committed mistakes in Kampala, so the Lango people must pay. That fellow must be bankrupt politically. If you say that Idi Amin is from West Nile, is a Kakwa, therefore whatever Idi Amin did, you should blame it on the people of West Nile, then you are politically bankrupt. Or if you say Museveni is a Munyankore, and all the Munyankore, if Museveni is in the bush, is a guerrilla is fighting, therefore all the Munyankore must suffer, then you are politically bankrupt. Because many of you are parents. You cannot even control, sometimes you cannot even control your 12-year-old children. They go and do what they want, contrary to your wishes. You will then be blamed for the actions of your son, Yoweri Museveni, who is 40 years old. That type of politics is very dangerous, because you see, politics is like medicine. Medicine, the science of medicine. If the doctor is not able to diagnose the disease, to know that this is malaria, and he just treats without knowing the disease, he can make a very big mistake. He can even cause the death of the patient he's trying to treat. NRM, we always emphasize the diagnosis of the disease. What is the problem? Why are these people doing what they are doing? Then once we get the right diagnosis, we can always get the right prescription.
The subject of punishment is uppermost again. Does reconciliation mean failure to punish? Because the president has always been consistent in saying that if we don't punish the perpetrators, especially the architects, then it will not be easy to guarantee the next peace. Says he makes a clear distinction between those who were misled into certain activities and the architects of those activities. I think that is well thought out, because had it been a blanket decision that whoever was on this side must be dealt with in the same way, the business of reconciliation and peace would have been very difficult. I hope you have seen the value of us allowing you to watch this rather bad video, but it is rich in the history of our country. When we get back, President Museveni is going to tell you a particularly painful personal story concerning him, which probably you have never heard of, courtesy of OwanaPaedia.
So that you can make informed choices.
And my father, they arrested them and they took them to Mbarara barracks. My mother was naked. She was dragged in the barracks naked.
OwanaPaedia, OwanaPaedia, Owana for history. If we go, OwanaPaedia.
Banange, have you subscribed to OwanaPaedia? I don't know what you are waiting for.
OwanaPaedia, OwanaPaedia, Owana for